button there. So that's all now. Good morning. Welcome to the Blogging for SEO webinar. Please welcome today your presenter, Amanda Dixon. Is she there, our Amanda? Hello, you're on mute still.
Oh, believe it or not, just can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, brilliant. Good morning, everybody. Just as the videos were starting there, I was setting my screen up and my computer decided to crash on me.
I was like, Amanda.
Yay!
Hello, Amanda. Well, I'll leave this in your capable hands. Let me know if you need anything, Amanda.
Okay. There's something going on with this. Let's have a look. Can you still hear me, everybody? I hope you can. I'm just trying to get the Zoom screen up. For some reason, everything decided to freeze on me just then. But while I'm trying to work it out, I'm hoping you can hear me. Kirsty, can you just confirm that everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can still hear and see.
All right, you can hear and see me, right? Lovely. Okay, I think we're there now. Let's get on and see if I can share this presentation with you, and then I'll get straight into it. What a good start for the day, hey? Let's see. There we go, nearly there. We'll just flip over these screens for me, and then I'll be able to share with you. Oh, what a start. There we go. Right, good morning, everybody. I'm here today to talk to you about blogging for your business and all the different benefits to it. And my emphasis is more on blogging for SEO for your business. So how blogging can help to ensure that your website will be coming top of Google for the right terms and so on. So let me start by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Amanda Dixon and my company is Northeast Social Media. And in normal terms, I'm operating from my offices in North Shields, but as some of you may still be, I'm currently still working from home. So with that in mind, apart from my IT issue this morning, we may have a bit of an interruption from my German Shepherd Thor, who quite often likes to join in the seminars. He certainly will every now and then let himself be heard. If he does start barking because someone comes to the door or something like that, I'll quickly pop myself on mute until he's finished. I've been operating as a social media specialist for about 11 years now and offer both training and management services to clients across the northeast of England. I'm also the social media specialist at the Business Factory in North Tyneside, where I deliver social media support to any businesses from pre-start to well-established on behalf of North Tyneside Council and TEDco. And in the past 3 years, I've also been working directly with Facebook and Enterprise Nation on their She Means Business campaigns, and also these webinars and so on for Digital Drive Durham and Yumi. So today we're going to talk about blogging, and in particular for SEO purposes. So why blog? I believe it's really important that blogging should be part of your overall marketing strategy and your business plan. So it's a good idea to take time to think about it and plan it. And people will often ask me, how can blogging help me? Well, there's all kinds of different reasons for blogging. It can help you to attract a new audience. It will provide new content on your website, and I'll keep going on about that. Google will love you. Google doesn't like static brochure websites anymore. It likes to see websites that are secure. So you've got to bear that in mind and make sure that your website has an SSL certificate on it. And that will mean that your web address becomes HTTPS rather than HTTP. Okay, it's something you must all have now, because the only way you're going to come up in any kind of Google search will be if your website is secure. Google likes to see websites that are being updated regularly. And so blogging is a really, really good way to help you with this. What else can blogging do? It can help you to establish your authority and validate your expertise, really highlight you as an expert in your field. It can help you to build rapport and engagement within your community. It's a way for you to tell your story, and it's a fantastic way to make you stand out from all your competitors. And the list does go on. I find as well that blogging can help you with your own personal development. The researching that you'll be doing to create these blogs, you learn new things and keep you up to date with your industry as well. It will help you to think more clearly. You'll reflect more deeply on certain subjects. Blogging can be a fantastic confidence builder. I remember years ago, you know, when I wrote my first blog, sat there and I typed the blog out and I clicked the publish button and I was over the moon. I thought, that's it, I'm a blogger. You know, it's a, you know, fantastic feeling. But of course, what we'll learn later on is nobody gets to see that blog unless you tell them it's there. But it is a great confidence builder. It challenges you, especially if you've got it within your marketing strategy to blog once a week or twice a week or once a month, whatever target you're setting yourself. It's a good challenge. It makes you go out and think about what it is you're going to be sharing with your community and what you need to research. It's going to help you build your audience. People are going to want to sign up for your blog if they find that the blog is of value to them. It lets you help people. You know, when you're blogging, one of the easiest ways to do it is to think about what you're doing in your business and how sharing certain things will help other people. Again, with that in mind, you could create that around sort of tutorial blogs and so on. It disciplines you. You know, if you've set that target to blog on a regular basis, you're going to stick to it. But it will also help you to build credibility, again, with that audience that's watching you. So where should you start? You start, like with everything else, with your audience demographic. Who is your target audience? What age are they? What do they do for a living? And what interests them? It's really important that you have this information for your overall marketing strategy, not just for blogging. You will find that once you have done this and you've created your buying persona, thought about the demographic of the one person who's going to buy from you, your life will be so much easier. So any of you that have heard me speak before will know that on just about every presentation I do, whether it's on Facebook marketing or Instagram advertising or blogging, it all comes back to the same thing: understanding and knowing who your target audience is. You need to be as precise as possible. Just to start with, I mean, later on, you're naturally going to grow your businesses and will attract people from other demographics as well. But in the first instance, think about that one person who's going to buy from you. And I'm going to give my example. And again, I'm sorry if you've heard me talk and you've heard this one before, but there's a fantastic example of a company in Durham. And it was a lady who was a teaching assistant that just wanted to earn some extra money for to supplement her teaching assistant's wage. And she decided she was going to do this by selling dresses, women's fashion. Didn't have a huge budget. Her and her mother put in, I think it was £30 each, to buy a batch of £60 worth of dresses from China. But what she didn't do is say, right, I've got £60 worth of dresses. Any woman within a size of 10 to 16 is going to want to buy my clothing. What she did was created a buying persona. She decided that the one person to buy from her was going to be a 19-year-old girl who drank on the big market in Newcastle every Friday and Saturday night. She then went on to even describe what this girl was going to look like. She had long dark hair, she had eyelash extensions, she had hair extensions, she was bright orange with fake tan. She didn't wear an awful lot, and she had about £30 expendable income to pay for this outfit. And do you know what? If she could get the full outfit for £30, she'd buy a new one every Friday and Saturday night, because she would never want to be seen dead in the same outfit, because there's going to be photographs of her all over Instagram. That's how much thought she put into her buying persona. She got herself a model who replicated the image she created, and she thought about what that 19-year-old girl would be interested in seeing and interested in learning. Now, in her first year, she turned over £750,000. In her second year, it was over £1 million. She ran the company, I think, for 4 or 5 years, became a multi-millionaire, and has sold it now. And for those of you who didn't recognize the story, it's a company called Pink Boutique. Her success is due to the fact that she really thought about that buying persona. She didn't go out and try to attract every single woman in the UK. Now, I guarantee you now the audience for that company is a lot different. You know, it will have spread throughout the UK. The age limit will probably be something more like 15 to 24, something like that now, or even possibly older than that. But in the first instance, you think about that buying persona, because then you'll be able to work out what it is that you can blog about that's going to add value or be of interest to that audience. So once you've established this, you can ask that audience, what do you want me to blog about? Is there something particular you want to learn about? If it's the fashion industry, you could be talking about the new seasons, or how to put an outfit together, or how to color coordinate. But ask your audience what they would like information on. Now, I'm just going to pause for a second to see if we've got any questions that might have come up there.
There's no questions in the Q&A box at the moment. There's a couple of comments in the chat, Amanda.
Okay, I'll pull the chat. Well, actually, I'll carry on. I'll come back to the chat box later. Otherwise, I'll have to mess around with sharing the screens.
Well,
and so on.
I can just say that there's in regards to providing a service to a range of people as opposed to selling them. Do you need various buying personas?
Yeah, what you'll need to do is break your marketing down. So if you do have a range of people, it might be a case of who shall I take as an example? Say you're a cleaning company. And that cleaning company does domestic cleaning and it does commercial cleaning. Then you might look at all the different social media platforms and bringing blogging into it as well, and decide which platform your target audience is on. So if you're looking to connect with people for your domestic cleaning services, then you will be looking at talking to those people on Facebook and Instagram. If you're wanting to connect with people to businesses, then you'll concentrate your efforts on LinkedIn. You'll pull the whole thing together with backlinks from Twitter going to your website for both domestic and commercial. And then when it came to blogging, you could decide, right, who do I think is most likely to read this blog? Is it going to be directed to the domestic owners who want a cleaner? Or is it going to be directed to the businesses? If it was to the businesses, then you would be talking about health and safety and deep cleaning for COVID and things like that. Whereas if it was for domestic, you might be giving cleaning tips and things like that. So that's what you've got to do, is completely break it down. You should never just create one thing and that become your social content on every single platform. You need to think about each one of them individually, which target audience is where, and speak to them on that platform. So when it comes to blogging, I would decide which part of your business do you think would your potential clients would be most likely to read this blog, and break it down that way.
Thanks, Amanda. I've got one more as well. So Carlton has asked, what is a blog?
So a blog basically is an article that you write. So it's an additional piece of information that you would put on your website. So in effect, it's a web page. It's a new web page. Okay, so that people will some people will call them a blog. Some people will call them news articles.
Cool, thank
Okay,
you.
so it's something you can create to put on your website to create a new page.
Have we got time for one more? Do you want to come
Yeah,
back?
sure. No, carry on.
So you mentioned backlinks coming from Twitter. Should we avoid using link shorteners on Twitter to facilitate this?
No, link shorteners are absolutely fine. I use Hootsuite, so all my links are automatically shortened to Owly. And that way, when I go into my analytics, I can see exactly how many people have clicked on those particular links. So those link shorteners are absolutely fine.
Brilliant.
It's still creating a backlink to your website, whether it's shortened or not.
Awesome. And that's all we've got for questions now, Amanda, so I'll let you.
Okie dokie, thank you. All right, so let's look at blogging in particular for optimization. So we know all the different reasons we could be blogging. So let's look at the different ways that it's going to help you. So basically, let's get top of Google without paying for it. All right, so I'm not a big believer in PPC on Google Ads. I found that over the years, I mean, you may argue with me, you may say it works fantastically for your business, but over the years, I've found the ads that come up on Google are less and less appropriate to the Google search you're putting in. I think that, well, I've asked many people who come on my courses, when you do a search on Google, what do you do? Do you click on the first thing that comes up with the ad next to it? Or do you go looking for the first free listing? And I would say that 99% of the people that attend my courses all say they go for the first free listing. All right, so that's what I'm looking to do. Through blogging and through optimization, I'm looking to be that first listing on Google underneath the ads. So the main thing that you're doing is creating that new content on your website. All right, so that's ticking the box with Google. Yes, this person hasn't got a static brochure site. They're actually going on their website and they're updating it. You'll be blogging about your industry and using your keywords. All right, the more of these keywords that you have on your website, the more chances you have of coming up in that Google search when somebody goes to Google and searches for what you do. Blogging creates content for you for your social media. You can say, I've written this blog today, go and have a look. You can create a blog and then create a series of tweets around that blog. It's fantastic for new content. What you mustn't do, by the way, is write a blog, publish it on your website, and then copy and paste it into a LinkedIn article. So LinkedIn's articles are a way of blogging on the LinkedIn platform. But you must not copy and paste that whole blog and put it into a LinkedIn article, because that may flag up to Google as plagiarism. All right, so if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to use LinkedIn articles to go alongside your blog, what you could do is write your blog, and then in LinkedIn articles, you could be saying, I created this new blog today about this subject. I'd love to know what your opinions are, and talk a bit more about it, coming up with maybe another 300 words on a LinkedIn article linking to your blog. That would be effective. But do not write a blog and then copy and paste it into different places. Okay, so yeah, as I've mentioned before, creating a blog helps you to drive traffic to your blog, which means that you're creating backlinks. You know, and while they're going on to your, people will often ask me, should I have a separate blogging site to my website? Absolutely not. You put your blog page on your website, because once people have clicked on these backlinks and they've gone to your website and they've read your blog, they may well then have a look around your other blogs or your other pages on your website to see what kind of services you're offering. It's also going to help you stand out as a market leader, as we've mentioned before. So when it comes to keywords, so that is to find the most popular words that are being searched for on Google. There are all different types of keyword tools that you could have a look at. For example, yoast.com/suggest. We've also got adwords.google.com/keyword planner and trends.google.com/trends. And you'll be able to see from that, you can put in a keyword, so a term that you would like to be found for on Google, and see variations of that, or see how people are using that particular keyword. All right, so focus keyword, you'll hear me talking about that a bit more. They would be the main terms that you want to be found for on Google. Okay. Something you need to think about leaving out of your focus keyword, because a keyword can be, say, 4 words. It could almost be a little mini sentence. But what you need to do is leave stop words out of your focus keywords. Okay, because normally they're filtered out by Google when Google's doing a search. So words like a and the, of, for, I, and, he, she, and many more are all stop words. All right, so if I was to put in social media training in Newcastle, for example, and I put that in as a focus keyword, Google's only going to read as far as social media training. It's going to lose the Newcastle bit because I've used the stop word in. All right, so you're going to have to start leaving these stop words out of your focus key terms. Each new blog that you write will need to have a focus keyword. All right, the main, that's if you're writing for optimization. So the main thing that you want to be found for on a Google search is going to be your focus keyword. This focus keyword needs to be original. All right, so only use it once. The focus keyword is going to need to be your blog title. By creating it as your blog title, if you're using something like WordPress, who automatically create the URL for you, so the link to this blog post, by having your focus keyword in your title, it will include it in your URL. If you don't have that kind of system that automatically creates it for you, you would need to go in and edit the URL to this blog to include that focus keyword. You should then use that focus keyword labeled as a heading. Now, I've seen so many people write blogs, and what they do is, rather than typing out the main focus keyword and then highlighting those keywords and making them a heading on their blog site, they just type it in bold and underline it. But that isn't labeling the heading for Google. All right, so you need to label these headings and subheadings so that Google, because that's the bit that the Google search spiders or worms or whatever we're calling them these days is going to find. All right, so your focus keyword needs to be original. It needs to be in your blog title, which in turn will put it into your URL. It needs to be your heading, heading 1, and also within your subheadings as well, or variations of it. You should also mention your focus keyword in your first paragraph, or preferably in your first sentence of your first paragraph, and then a couple more times throughout that blog. So you're saying the main thing you want to be found for on Google in your heading, your title, your URLs, your subtitle, in your first sentence, and throughout that piece of prose that you're writing. That's saying it enough times that it's going to help your web page be the web page that appears in front of somebody when they search for someone that does what you do on Google. So the other things you need to think about for SEO are each blog, and when I'm talking about blogs here, everything I'm saying here is also appropriate to each web page that you're creating as well. All right, so everything here is transferable to a web page that you've written. So each web page or each blog that you write needs an image. And when you upload that image, you'll see that you have the ability to put text in a box called alt tag or alt text. It stands for alternative text or alternative tag. Make sure you include your focus keyword in the description on your alt tag. Okay, that's somewhere else that Google's looking. You also need to make sure that your focus keyword is in your meta description. Now, what that is the little snippet of information that comes up next to the link to your blog. So each time you add a page or you add a blog to your website, you'll be able to add in the meta description for that page. Make sure your focus keyword is in there as well. What I will do, by the way, in the second part, after we've had a bit of a break, is I will open up my website and we'll add a blog to it, and I'll take you through all these different areas and so on, so it'll make a bit more sense to you. Every single blog that you write needs an outbound link. So that is a link going from your blog to somebody else's website. Okay, that's an outlink. Every page, every blog you write needs an outlink. Now, if you get stuck, so if for example you were talking about an article you read in the newspaper, you could create an outlink going from your website to the online newspaper where you saw the article. That would be a nice, good, strong outlink. If you're stuck and you've got nowhere to refer to, so you can't, so you've got nowhere externally that you can refer, or or that you want to refer this blog to, you could say something like, have you connected with us on Facebook? And put a link through to your Facebook page or your LinkedIn profile or your Instagram account. That would be a good, strong outlink. Okay, you also need inlinks. So every web page you write, every blog page you write should have a link going from within the text of your prose to another page on your website. So on my website, for example, if I was talking on the homepage and saying, we put on lots of different social media workshops, I would highlight the words social media workshops, and I would direct a link behind those words to the social media workshops page of my website. That's an inlink. Again, if you're stuck creating an inlink, you could say, for further information, contact us. And behind the words contact us, you'd put a link through to your contact page. So there's all these different ways around it. Quite often people in blogs will refer to a previous blog they've written. That would be a good inlink. All right, so you've got an outlink going from your website to somebody else's website, and you've got an inlink taking people from one page of your website to another. The idea of that is that you'll create a flow on your website where people won't just come on your website and bounce straight off it. They're going to come on your website and they're going to read things, and they're going to see a word that's highlighted and click on it and go through to another page, which is going to create a flow. It's going to keep people on your website for longer. When you're writing a blog, you need to come up with more than 300 words. Okay, that's your minimum, 300 words. And it's not that much. Okay, so you can write a blog for 300 words. You've got a word counter built into Word, so you could do it in Word first of all, so that you can keep a track of what you're writing. It's only 2 or 3 paragraphs. Okay, don't make your blogs too long. If you write too much, it might take people too long to read them, and therefore they're not going to read your beautiful prose. You know, when we're doing anything these days, we've only got a couple of seconds. We have, what is it, on social media, you've got 1.2 seconds to capture somebody's attention before they move on to the next thing. It's the same with blogs. If you don't grip them in that first paragraph, they're not going to read further on. And we want people to read the blogs. We want them to feel that this blog is of value and it's got some really important information that's worth reading from beginning to end. Okay, so keep your blogs to around the 300 or minimum of 300 words. So say between 300 and 400 words, and that will be spot on. You'll find that as well is far more effective, isn't it, when you're sending out your email campaigns, for example. The more short and precise your emails are and the content within them, the more chance you've got of somebody going from beginning to end. So once we've got this all within the context of our blogs, you also need to think about readability. When you're looking at readability, one of the main things you need to do is forget everything you learnt when you went and you studied English. You've got to push that all aside, and you've got to think in terms of simplicity. Sentences need to be short. No more than 20 words in a sentence. Okay, short and sweet. Never start sentences with the same word. So you'd never say, we do this, we do that, we offer this service, we do the other. Every sentence is going to start with a new word. You're also going to have to look at where you can bring transition words into your sentences. So words like and, first of all, also, another, furthermore, finally, in addition, as a result, hence, consequently, therefore, in conclusion, words like that. And I'll tell you what, when you get into this, it's quite challenging to look at ways of making shorter sentences but including transition words in them. It can be quite a challenge, but it's doable. Okay, but you need to bring these transition words into it as well, because Google likes them. And you need to think about avoiding the passive voice all the time. So, for example, instead of saying, this product can be bought on our website or on our web shop, you would say, customers can buy this product in our web shop. Instead of saying the bags are checked by a security employee, you would say a security employee checks the bags. And the employees are informed about their financial contribution. The manager informs his employees about their financial contributions. So there's only so much of a percentage of your wording that should have the passive voice. Okay? So really think about that when you're creating your wording. Now, the thing that everyone forgets to do is once this blog has been written and they have their beautiful prose and they've got their focus keywords in the right places, they've got the right amount of words, they've got the in link, they've got the out link, they've got all tags. Nobody then tells Google it's there. You will find if you set up a Google console and actually tell Google when you've written this new blog and added it to your website, it will be found much quicker on a Google search. Much quicker. My record for this was when I wrote a blog for SEO purposes and called it Facebook Training Whitley Bay. And I wrote the blog on a session like this, optimized it, put the alt tags on and everything else. And at the end of the session, I registered it on my Google console. And I told the attendees, check in 24 hours, check in 48 hours. And by that time, I should be appearing towards the top of Google. It actually took 20 minutes. And within 20 minutes of registering that blog on my Google console, I was top of Google for that search term. And I think that was 3 years ago, and I'm still there for it now. So I'm going to come off these slides now, and we'll go. Let's just click on stop share for a second. Famous last words. There we go. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'll take some questions, and I'm going to go onto the internet, and we'll have a look at some of the things I've been talking about there. Hiya, Kirsty.
So we've got a little pile of questions building up here. So one of them you've kind of just covered there. So I'm a tuition centre in Halifax, which covers Calladale and surrounding areas. I have 2 main competitors within this area who are always higher up in the search engine. I'm recently going through a marketing campaign including SEO. How can I stand out? I have tried to add a few blogs.
Well, it's not just adding a few blogs, it's adding a few blogs for the terms that you would like to be found for on Google. They need to become your focus keywords for your blogs. And you need to be talking about those subjects. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. We'll go onto my website and I'll give you some examples. But also find out what terms what the terms they're coming up for on Google. And they're the ones then that you want to make sure you're incorporating into your website. It might be that you don't have a Google console set up yet. And so it's harder for Google to find your website. It's something that isn't automatically done for you when you have a website created, or people that create their own websites might not even know that they need to register it with the search engines. Okay, it's one of those things that I often found has been forgotten about.
Okay, thank you. So we've got most of the time I read a blog entry but don't then look at the rest of the site. I also may not go back to the site. How do I get people to look at the other pages?
By ensuring that you mention them and in-link them within that blog. You could say, you know, I wrote this article on this date, and you'll find some facts of interest in there and create that link through to it. Or if you're talking about one of your services, making sure that people can see there's a direct link there going to that other page. That'll keep them on the website so long as what you're putting on is interesting.
Thank you. So quick question around the copy and paste no onto LinkedIn. So you can summarize it in the article section on LinkedIn and put the direct link to your website in the article. Is that the best way?
Yeah, but what you would do is you would create another blog, as it were, around that blog. So you could go onto your LinkedIn article and say, I wrote a blog today on this subject, and I would love to know what your thoughts are. Because when we look further into it, we found this, that, and the other. So create an interesting article about the blog you've written. And again, that should get you more traffic then, and you should get a really good reach on LinkedIn, because using articles on LinkedIn is quite powerful. But yeah, no copying and pasting, because if you have the same blog on your website and in your LinkedIn articles, it's going to flag up as plagiarism.
Okay, lovely. I've been told to use 10 keywords within my website, so would the blog need to include all 10 keywords?
No, each blog would be a keyword of its own right. Okay. I think when people are creating websites and when people are blogging and so on, there must be one main thing that you want to come up for Google for to begin with. Concentrate on that to start with. So for me, I set up a company and I wanted to be top of Google if somebody was going to type in Northeast social media. Mm-hmm. So I called myself Northeast Social Media. So it didn't take long, because my URL was Northeast Social Media and the title of the website was Northeast Social Media. It wasn't rocket science. It wasn't long before I was top of Google for that term. I then concentrated on social media Northeast. Made sure I was coming up as first for all that search, for that search term. And then I started to look at other things. So social media management Northeast, social media management Newcastle, social media management Gateshead, social media training Newcastle. So I've got an awful lot more than 10 focus keywords, but I've concentrated on them one at a time. All right, so yeah, concentrate on that first one. First of all, get yourself found for the main one that you want to be found for, and then create more focus keywords after that for more search terms.
Lovely. So I've got another one here that kind of rings into that. So I'm using recruitment agencies leads as the keyword. Is it okay to use the same keyword, or do I need more? But you've kind of just...
Yeah, you need more. You can only use your focus keyword once. So you can still use that as a tag within each blog you write. You know, when you get to add your tags to your blog, but no, your titles and your focus keyword needs to be different on every page. You can, like I say, you can still incorporate those words within, but not as the focus keyword. Only use it once on your website.
Okay, lovely. How often do you need to publish blog posts?
Now that I said right at the beginning, I knew I'd get asked that. It's entirely up to you. It's whatever you're going to commit to. You can do it once a week. You can do it once a fortnight. You can do it once a month, once a quarter. It's entirely up to you. Obviously, the more you do it, the better it will be, for all the reasons we mentioned right at the beginning about the different reasons for blogging and so on, and highlighting yourself as an expert in your field and giving your community interesting things to read and to learn about and so on. But it's up to you. You make a commitment and you set yourself that target to work to that. And again, it depends how important it is for you to work on that SEO, to be found for that term. If you want to be found for that term, then you want to keep doing this week in, week out until you're there for that term. All right, but it's a combination of everything, you know. It's not just writing that blog that's going to get you there. It's writing the blog, it's registering that with Google when you know it's been set up correctly and you've done all the things that we've already mentioned. It's then creating backlinks to that blog by tweeting to your heart's content about it. It's posting about it with a link through to it on LinkedIn, potentially from Facebook as well, if you've got questions to ask about it and could create engagement around it. So it's not just the write a blog and hope for the best. It's having a process thereafter to make this blog work for you.
Lovely. So we've got a couple of people asking again, would you mind explaining how you tell Google?
Okay, we'll go into that. It's called registering your website on the Google console. In fact, I'll show you now, and then I'll refer back to it later on. I'll share my screen with you. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so if I go on to Google, interesting. There we go. So go to Google and type in Google Search Console. Sorry, Google. I've blanked. I love it when that happens. Google. Oh, brain. Google Console. Here we go. And what you'll do is you'll go to Google Search Consoles and you click on Start Now. And you will sign up to a Google console. I'm on the wrong account here. Hang on 2 ticks for me. No, I need to log in here. So you're going to go to Google and you're going to type in Google Search Console. And this is what a Google Search Console looks like. but I'm just going to log into the correct account. There we go. And what I've done is I've come along here and I've registered my website with Google. All right, so I've opened my website up, I've copied the URL and I've pasted it in here. When you do that, a box will pop up and that box will have coding on it. And it's a piece of Google code. And you would take that onto your website, paste it in where you put your Google codes. So for me, I use SEO by Yoast on my website. So I would go into my Webmaster Tools, paste that link. I would click on the button to confirm I've done that. And that verifies my website with Google. It's that simple. And when we, after the break, when we go onto my website, I'll show you where you would put that code. Once you've done that, you've registered your property. So these are all the web pages that I've registered on my account. So there's Northeast Social Media. If I was to write a new blog, once I've finished it and I've ticked all the boxes and I know that I've put everything that we've mentioned before on it, there we go. I would go to the most recent blog that I've written. I would copy that URL link there. I would take it along here and I would put that URL in here. I didn't actually copy it, did I? There we go, copy and paste. I would then press the enter button and Google would go and do a search and see whether or not this link has ever been registered on Google. If it hasn't, there's a button to say request indexing. I click on that button and that's it, job's done. I've told Google that this web page is now on Google. And that's what I've done with every page of my website and every blog I've written on my website. And that will help me, or help Google find me and quicker. Okay, if you don't have a Google console set up, chances are Google don't even know that you're there.
Awesome, thank you.
It's okay.
We've got a couple more questions. Do you want to answer these before we go to break?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
I have a few Google accounts, and you might have just touched on it. I have a few Google accounts, and I'm not sure which account should be used for the console. What's the best way to get this all in order?
Well, every website should have its own Google console. Or if you're managing several different sites, then you can have them all under the one console if you want to. Okay. But they should all be individually. Every URL should be registered under a Google console.
Laura's asked, have you got any suggestions when it comes to blog length and the number of out-inbound links? Thanks.
Okay, 300 words minimum, 1 inbound, 1 outbound. That's the requirement. That's more than enough.
Is it worth sending the outlink to another site you own in that other site link to your first site? Is it worth doing this more frequently, doing this rather than sending it to other outlinks? Essentially, both sites become referring partners.
Yeah, I mean, that would be okay. I don't know is the answer to that. I don't know whether it's more powerful to have links to various different sites or whether going to one would be okay. I don't have an answer for you on that one. At the end of the day, the stipulation is they want to see in links, they want to see out links. They don't say where they want these to go. So I don't see any reason why you shouldn't do that. I'd make sure it was appropriate though. Yeah. So I'd really think about whether or not it's appropriate that you put the link in all the time.
Brilliant, thank you. And we've got, what is the difference between domain and URL when registering the website in the Google console? Okay,
so domain would be, you'd be having to go into your hosting account to put the code in there. And I have a nightmare whenever I do this with my hosting account, because the piece of coding that it gives you in there for the domain will, well, in my case, throughout all my emails as well, it suddenly decided that all this company's email addresses were to become Google Mail, whereas they weren't. They were all set out in the Outlook. So I prefer to go in through the URL prefix. But if you know how to access and manage your own domain site, if you're hosting your own websites, then you can use the domain if you want to.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, so I think that's all we've got for questions. Do you want to, anyone else got anything else to ask, or before we go for break?
Any more?
Any more?
Okay, lovely. Well, let's have a break now, and then when we come back, we'll talk about choosing your focus keywords, and then we'll have a look at optimizing a blog.
All right, brilliant. So we'll have a 5-minute break, everyone. I'll be back at 11 o'clock.
Okie dokie. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
Remember to unmute this time. Oh, brilliant.
Everyone's back, so I'll let you crack on, and I'll be back for the questions if there is any.
Brilliant. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to share my screen with you again. And we're going to hop on over to Google. When it comes to think about your focus keywords, really think about them. I mean, it's things like, I would love to be top of Google for social media. Oh, I thought he's going to make an appearance, are you? No, he's just going to moan. Right, I'd love to be top of social media, for, top of Google for social media. But as you can see, my competition is 6,760,000,000 websites that have been found in 0.5 of a second. All right, completely unrealistic in my view, which is why I said I want to be top of Google for Northeast social media. That went down to 1,850,000,000, but I managed it. Okay, so don't think that you're going to be top. If you do first aid trading, you're not necessarily going to come top of Google straight away for first aid, because if you look for first aid, again, you're going to see there's 971 million sites for you to compete with. However, if you wanted to be top of Google for first aid and you were in Durham, make that your keyword. That takes it down to 37 million. I'm just checking I've got the right number there, yeah, which again is going to be more achievable than first aid with 971 million. All right, so some people will say, well, you know what it is, I can sell anywhere. But again, go back to what we talked about with your buying persona. Okay, start off with one, and then we can increase it out later on. And it is always easier to start off when you're regionalized, when it's local. So I started off with Northeast social media, and then I went for social media Northeast, and I come up for that as well. Now, what you must all make sure you've done as well is create your Google business listing. All right, so it's one thing registering your website on your Google console, but you must make sure that you're using your Google business listing as well. So set up your Google on business and make sure you're using this. Make sure you're posting on it on a regular basis. By regular basis, I mean once a week. You can see the posts that you create sit here at the bottom of your Google listing, and it also pulls through your recommendations, your Google recommendations, your Facebook recommendations, and so on. And you'll see that this post will stay here for exactly 7 days, and then it will drop off. So then you create your new one, and you can post on a daily basis if you want to. I think there's only a need to do it once a week. So to post on here, I'll just show you in case it's not something you're currently doing. Open up your business, and you can see mine comes onto the dashboard of all the pages I look after. Go through to your business profile and click on posts. And this is a good thing to do, for example, if you've written a blog. Use that as your post this week for your Google business post. So you will click on here, add an update, and I would go to my website. I would find my most recent blog, that was that one, using hashtags on Facebook. So I would take my focus keyword, I would take it to my post, and I would start with my main focus keyword, Northeast social media, and I'm going to stick the word training on the end. Then I'm going to paste through my title hashtags on Facebook. I'm just going to type in, are you using hashtags on Facebook, question mark, you should be. That's what I'm going to put. Then I'm going to do the important thing, which is put on a call to action, copy the link to this post, and paste it in there. I'm then going to add a photo, and I'm just for speed, I'm going to quickly save that image. And then I'm going to drag and drop that in here and post down to the bottom, publish. By doing that once a week, you're playing the Google game. So not only are you playing the Google game and using your focus keywords in your post, which is going to help you be found on Google, but you're also creating a very, very strong backlink through Google's site to your website, which is going to help to re-index your website with Google. All right, so it's really important you do that. And again, I would make that part of your process when you're with your whole social media strategy, but also when you've written a blog, that you know that the following Monday or whenever it is that you do your Google post, you are going to make sure you go back to that blog and post the link back to it. Okay, so that's your Google business account. When you first register on it, if you've never done this before, you would just go again, type into Google, register my business on Google, and down here, sign up and verify your business. And again, look at this, my point from earlier on. I've Googled register my business on Google, and then we've got ads, wix.com, that's not what I've asked for, searchberg.co.uk, not what I've asked for, ranking.com, check your business listing. I haven't asked for any of those, but there is the free listing, how to sign up and verify your business. You'd open that, and then Google is going to take you through a guide. You'll start the guide, sign up and review your business information, verify your business. And what it's going to do, it's going to ask you for your business name. It's going to ask you for your address. Now, if there's any listing already on Google, it's going to pull that up. You can click on it and you can claim that business listing. And what Google will do is they'll send you a postcard out through the post with a code on it. You go back into your business listing, put that code in to verify, and then that's it. It will start to be published on Google. You can add all your images to it, so people have got plenty to look through when they find you. You can pop your logo on and everything else. So you can see you've got a link through to the website. People can get directions on how to find me. They can save this to their browser, or they can call me. All right, so you've got all those different options on there for your business. So it's just another social networking site. I think what happened was people heard a couple of years ago that Google was no longer there and people weren't using the Google platform anymore, but it always has been maintained throughout for businesses. It's changed names several times, but it's always been there and maintained throughout. This also makes sure that you appear on Google Maps. So if somebody has got their Google Maps down, they're walking down the street and they walk past your venue, whether you've got an office or you've got a shop, whatever, it's going to pop up with your company name. If you're a business working from home and you don't want to display your home address, when you're setting this up, you have an option to opt out of your map being viewed. And it will just ask you what areas you service. You put in some local areas, it will draw a sort of circle around those areas, and that's it, you're registered without having to display your address. You do have to put your address in though, so that they can send you that postcard. So start off with that one main search term that you want to be found for. And that will obviously be the main SEO focus keyword that you're using on the homepage of your website and so on. Thereafter, it might be that you think, right, I'm going to have to build up on other search terms now. So let's have a look. If I wanted to come top of Google for social media training, Gateshead, let's have a look. We can see I'm there, but I'm below this company here. So if I wanted to push that and get myself further up here, I might use social media training Gateshead as a focus keyword for a blog. You see what I mean? So again, by putting that location on the end, I'm going to decrease the amount of websites I've got to compete with and come up for the ones that, but still come up for the ones that I want to be found for. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to go onto my website now. Let me just log into the back end of it. I'll stop sharing for a second while I do this. Basically, what I've been teaching you here is the concept of like SEO is by using a plugin that I have on my website called SEO by Yoast. Now, if any of you are using WordPress, you want to make sure you have this plugin on your website, because basically what SEO by Yoast does is it will take you through every single step of what we've just covered, reminding you what you need to add, what you need to change within this blog. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look. I'll start sharing with you so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, I see we've had a question there. A freelancer working from home. Yeah, put your address in, but uncheck the button. Say to them you do not want your address to be displayed. If, however, your home address is registered at company's house, it's going to be public information anyway. So it's entirely up to you. If you see your clients at home, then by all means, put your home address on there. If you don't, if you're doing everything remotely, or if you go to clients' premises and you don't want that map displayed, just say you don't want it displayed, but make sure you put your area in that you cover that area. Okay. Where are we? Share screen. Right, so I'm in the back end of my website at the moment. Because I've got SEO by Yoast on here, I can see over here which blogs have been optimized, or which on this section here. So you can see down here, I've got a series of colors under traffic lights. The green light means that it's been optimized for SEO under the traffic light, and under the feather, that's my readability score. So that's when I've gone in and I've checked that my sentences are short enough, and that I'm not using the passive voice all the time. And I've gone in and fixed those. So you can see all the ones that I've optimized there. I'm looking for a blog that I haven't optimized. Let's have a look. I've optimized them all. That's good, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Well, I'll just go in and demonstrate this for you. So some of these blogs, by the way, I've written for optimization. Some of them I've just written for information. So if something's come up, so if people are asking me the same question over and over again, like using hashtags on Facebook, I'll write a blog about using hashtags on Facebook. I know I've used a stop word in there. Oh, that's great. Come on, are you going to come up for me? I know I've used stop word in that focus key phrase there, but that's because I wasn't bothered about this one for optimization. I was just writing it for information. Okay, down at the bottom of the plug, of the post rather, here's my Yoast panel. All right, and on my Yoast panel, I have the SEO analysis. And that shows me all the right places that I've used my focus keyword. I've told them here what the focus keyword for the page is. And then Yoast has checked for me that I've got an outbound link in the blog, that I've got an inbound link in the blog, that I've used the key phrase in my introduction. It likes that it's a good length. It doesn't tend to like focus keywords that are any more than 4 words. The key phrase density, it's shown me that I've used that focus keyword 8 times within this blog, which is fine. If I've used it too many times, it will have told me that you've overused it. Be careful of overusing your keyword, and then you go in and reduce it. The key phrase is in the meta description, and the meta description is a good length. So what this section is here is just above this section here is the meta description. If I click on edit snippet, this is where it shows me my SEO title, and then it has the slug. And what the slug are the words after your web address where it goes. So for me, northeastsocialmedia.co.uk/, the words that come on after that are the slug. And they've always got a hyphen between them. So using hashtags on Facebook is the focus keyword for the page. Therefore, using hyphen hashtags hyphen on hyphen Facebook is the slug. All right, so you've got to make sure that your keywords are in that slug. In the meta description, again, it wants to see that main focus keyword in the meta description. So the best thing to do is go right up to the top of your blog, copy the first section. So we should start it here really. Should I be using hashtags on Facebook? You'd copy and you'd paste that into this section here. You would then go up and get a bit more text. So you'd copy the next bit that you've written, you'd paste that down here. And then what you'd have to do is, if you have too many words here, you just start backspacing. So if I just put a bit more type in this box, there we go. So if you'd copied and pasted and your line was red like that, you would just click on your backspace like this until this line here goes green. Then you know it's perfect for optimization. And I normally take it back to where a word's ended and put 3 dots. So in other words, go and read more. All right, so that's the bit that you'd edit for your meta description. Now, if you haven't got Yoast on your website, you will still have this area for changing your SEO title and putting in your slug and your meta description. It will still be there for you, but just take the concept of what you're learning here and do that on your websites as well. So it's telling me here, previously used key phrase. You haven't used this key phrase before. Very good. All right, so that's showing you only use a focus key phrase once. And it's saying here your key phrase is in your subheading 1, H2 and H3, which reflects the topic of your copy. So that's good. I've put an image or attribute on the image that I've uploaded. So if I show you the image over here on the right hand side, alternative text, you can see that's where my focus keyword is. Alternatively, if you were bringing this through from your media library and you are uploading the images to your media library, you will see in your media library, you've got the ability to put your alt text in there and it'll just pull it through to this section here for you. Where are we? Text length, 415 words, good job. It's only going to pull you up if you're under 300. Key phrases in the title, the exact match of the focus key phrase that appears at the beginning of the SEO title, good job. It's going to want an exact match. So whatever you've put in as your SEO title must be an exact match that you're putting in here. Okay, no variation of it, it's got to be exact. And we've got the key phrase in the slug. So it's happy with all of that. If anything was needed to be changed, you wouldn't have a green traffic light there. And it would be down below, it would be red, and it would say, for example, no images have alt attributes, try adding them. And then that would remind you to pull up the image or to insert an image and put on that alt tag. If it said here that the focus keyword had been used too often or not enough, if you click on the eye next to it, it highlights everywhere you've used the focus keywords within your blog. All right, so if it said that you've used it too much, you could go in and remove it and replace it with other words. All right, so that's the main SEO. And then you have readability. So if I click through here to readability, we can see these are the things it's been looking for. So it's happy with my sentence length. It wasn't. I had to go in and I had to reduce my sentence length to make sure that all my sentences had less than 20 words in them. Paragraph length. None of the paragraphs are too long. My rule of thumb, what I tend to do is only put about 2 sentences in a paragraph. The reason it wants this is because most people will be reading your blog now through a mobile phone. And therefore, what you need to include is white space to make it easier for people to read your words. Now, this is the same whether you're writing on any of your social media platforms or your blogs, even on your emails. Make sure you've got white space, so a paragraph, every couple of sentences to make it easier for people to read. Also, you'll find that using bullet points helps words to pop and makes it easier for people to read. All right, so think of those sort of things when you're writing this blog. I started at the bottom, didn't I? Subheading distribution, they're happy with that. I haven't used too many. I've used enough. In fact, this one asked me to add in some extra subheadings. Consecutive sentences, there's enough variety in your sentences. This is the bit that would flag up if you started consecutive sentences with the same word. We, or I, anything like that. All right, so you must make sure different words to start the new sentences. Passive voice, you're using enough active voice, that's great. Again, I don't write with an active voice. I always have to click on this section here and come in and look at where I can reduce that voice. So it's the Flesch Reading Ease score. It's considered fairly easy to read. Good job. If I was using really complex words, it would say you need to work on it. Your words are too big. All right. And transition words. You can see here I haven't used enough of them. So it wants me to use more of them. When I click on the I here, it shows me where I have used it. So I could try adding some more transition words into here. So let's have a little play of that. If I click on this section here that says use more of them, that'll open up a tab and it'll give me a nice box of different transition words I can use. So I can look at where I can put in the word therefore or in other words. And this is the kind of thing I do. I'll open this as a reminder, or you can just go to Google and you can type in transition words recognized by Google and lists will come up for you. So let's see where I can stick therefore or in other words in this blog. So let's have a look. Let's have a look. We can put one in here. Oh, no, not that. Here. No, that's a quote. Here. Reduce the length of the sentence. There we go. Excuse me. In fact, we'll change that one to, in other words. So let's have a look if we update that. Okay, we're on 27.5%. Let's put in an in conclusion. Have a quick look. In addition. There we go. And it's gone green. Okay, so that's all you need to do is follow the sort of guidelines I've given you there. And if you are using WordPress and can install the SEO by Yoast plugin, it will make life so much easier for you. And then you'll just click on the update button once you've done it. Okay. Right, I'm going to stop sharing and take some questions for a bit because I'm sure there's bits you'd like me to show you again. Okay.
Hello.
Right.
So we do have a few questions building up. So I'm a freelancer and I work from my home address. Would you still recommend registering with Google Business?
Yeah, I think I answered that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Do register your business, but you choose whether or not your address is displayed.
Okay, sorry.
No,
when you register with your you've answered that one as well.
I haven't. That one there.
When you register with Google Console, you'll be asked to add HTML verification code to your website. Where should it go?
Right, so if you have this SEO by Yoast attached to it, what you would do is you would go to plugins. You would go down to SEO by Yoast. Where are you? Okay, I'm going blind.
Mm-hmm.
There it is, right at the bottom, look. You would go into your settings and you will have Webmaster Tools. Now, if you're not using Yoast, then you'll have another area on your website, or you might have to, you will have another area on your website where you can add in your Webmaster Tools, and that's where it goes, into the Google verification box. You copy and paste it in there. You go back to where you've got that code for and click on the button to verify that you've put it on your website, and that's it. You're all set up on your console.
Okay, cool.
I've just done that and showed you without sharing my screen. Should I share my screen and do that again?
Oh.
Right, so you go to your plugins. So I've installed, you can also add plugins for your Google HTML code, but because I'm using Yoast, it's built in. So I come down to SEO by Yoast, I click on my settings. Within Yoast, you can see I go to Webmaster Tools, and that is where I would paste the Google verification code. I'd click on Save Changes, I'd go back to where I got the code, click the button to verify, and that's it straight away. It will find it within your website. Some people who don't have access to this might add the code within the header area of their websites. Quite often, so people will download Google or website header and footer coding and plugins, and you could put it in there. Or if you do understand coding, you could go into the main body text of the header of your website and copy and paste the code across there as well.
Thank you. Won't blogs written only for optimization purposes look bad on your website by human standards?
Yeah, quite potentially, yes, which is why I mix it up. That's why I don't always write them for optimization's sake. I mean, obviously, if I'm talking about social media, then it's always going to help me anyway, which is what I do talk about. But I'll show you again, back to my website. It's pretty obvious which ones I've written for optimization and which ones have been written for information. So I'll show you, and it can be quite soul destroying, you know, sometimes when you're changing your beautiful prose to optimize it. So this one was written for information. That one was for information. So was this one. This one is obviously written for optimization. That one's for information. That one's for optimization. Information, information, information. And on to page 2. That was a news update, information. That one was written for optimization. And that was the one I was talking about earlier on that came up in 20 minutes. So obviously there wasn't a huge competition for that term. If we do Facebook training Whitley Bay and have a look, see there's only 800,000 results. And like I say, it only took 20 minutes, and 3 years on, that's still sitting there top of Google. Okay. So yes, it can look bad if every single one of them is written purely for optimization purposes. But at the end of the day, we're businesses, and we've got to find that happy medium to make sure that we're coming up in the position on Google that we want. So we've got to work towards getting that and find the right balance as well.
Lovely. Please explain slug.
They're like snails without the shell. Right. So the slug bit is, what did Chris share? You've got to tell me when it looks like I'm clicking without sharing with you. Is this bit. The bit that appears after the link to your website. So every single page on my website is going to start with northeastsocialmedia.co.uk. And then all additional pages will be, that's my homepage URL. And then everything else will have a /. So the slug for this page is just the word workshops. The slug for this page is social-media-management-Newcastle-packages. All right, so it's the focus keyword that you've used on the page divided up with hyphens. That then becomes your slug. All right, and that's where you want to avoid those stop words. All right, because you don't want the Google search term looking for you, and you've used all those beautiful focus keywords, but you stuck a stop word in the middle of it. So it's only going to go as far as it sees a stop word before it's moving on to somebody else's website to see what else matches it more closely.
All right, thank you. So I know we've just had a little look on your page there, but Misha has asked, what type of content did you put in your Northeast social media blog?
Well, I've mixed it up between talking about different changes on social media, but I've changed that the titles to represent what I want to be top of Google for educational point of view and to make people see me as an expert in my field. I'll write about the most recent changes that are happening in social media. So if I'd been prepared, I would have written in advance one for today, which I will put on out later on today, about the changes to the Facebook advertising policies. Now I could either title that Facebook advertising changes 2020, or I could do Facebook advertising Northeast. So if anyone in the Northeast was looking for someone who taught Facebook advertising, that blog will come up to them. So I can go either way with it when it comes to creating the focus keyword for it and writing it. And what I would probably do is head off to Google first of all and type in Facebook training Northeast and see whether or not I appear for it, which I do. So I don't need to write that as a focus keyword, but I might decide, all right, well, not Facebook training Northeast, let's go with Facebook training Durham. And there we go, I'm not there for that. So I could then decide whether or not I want to write it with the focus keyword of Facebook changes 2020 or Facebook advertising changes 2020 or Facebook advertising training Durham. and then I could base it and word it around that about, you know, delivering training in Durham and so on, but also get across the information about the Facebook advertising training changes and so on. That's what you've got to think about. You've got to work out what kind of angle you're going to be going from, because one piece can be written so many different ways, you know, and it's a case of write it first, get your 300 words, then decide on your focus keyword and alter it to match, and go in and change the length of your sentences and the tone of your sentences and everything else, following those guidelines from Yoast.
Okay, lovely, thank you. I know you've copied and pasted the first few lines of the article into the meta description section, but shouldn't the meta description differ from the actual text included in the article?
Not necessarily, no. So long as you have got your focus keyword in it, that's what they're looking for. So long as you've got your main focus keyword in there, I normally say, but basically that meta description I'm giving, you can do it that way, and you can put more thought into it if you want to, or you can just say, here's a little bit from my first paragraph, and I'm going to go back on the delete button until my line goes green, so it's only 2 lines long, and put ... to read more. It's up to you. The only important, I do things for ease and speed, because I'm not just blogging for me, I'm blogging for other people. I want this all done. I've got to get it done quite quickly and efficiently. So that's why I'll just take the focus keyword, copy the first paragraph, and delete back from it until it goes green. But if you want to start with a focus keyword, put a hyphen, then type something in completely different, that is entirely up to you. You just need to make sure you have that focus keyword in there.
Okay, thank you. So Francesca's come back again and asked, she asked earlier about the keywords. So we are wanting to use artificial intelligence recruitment leads as a focus keyword. You say you should only do this once. Does that mean we should only have one blog on the website on this topic, or that we should just check alternative keywords with the same meaning and word it differently in other blogs?
Yeah, so word it differently, but also you can move the words around. So I could do a blog about Northeast social media, or I could do a blog about social media Northeast. Artificial intelligence recruitment, artificial intelligence. They're 2 different keywords. All right, so you'll be able to do variations of that, but obviously you've got to come up with a prose that goes with it, and make sure that 300 words is different for each of those blogs. So it's going to be quite a challenge, but you will be able to get there with a bit of clever wording and looking at it from different aspects. But by all means, use those keyword checkers and yeah, find out variations or other terms that other people are putting into Google. And that's the important thing, you know. It's not always the terms that you think you should be, you want to be top of Google for. You've really got to work out what the normal person who is looking for somebody that provides your products or your services, okay, what are they putting into Google? Because that's what matters here. All right, so do your research on that and find out what people are typing in. Ask your clients. Say, when you found us, what did you put into Google? You know, build it up from there.
Lovely. So your optimum blog should be more than 300 words minimum. Is there a maximum recommendation?
No, there isn't a maximum recommendation, but just from a human perspective and knowing how people are behaving online at the moment, and the fact that everybody wants to do everything really, really quickly, if you make your blogs too long, people will not read them. Keep them the sort of the 3-4 paragraphs long, 300 words. And sometimes you might have to go over that, because the information you've got to get out there is really, really valuable, and you need it all in one blog. But you know what? If you've written something that's 1,500 words long, could you not chop that up into 5 blogs or 3 blogs? Mm-hmm. Right? Think about it that way. People want to read things. And if people are coming onto a website and they're gaining information, they're gaining value from your blog, and it's not taking them too much time to get that information that they're looking for, they're going to keep coming back. You know, if they have to read something that's too long, you've lost them.
Okay, thank you. In regards to my previous question, I want to get to page 1 on Google when someone types recruitment agencies leads into Google? Shall I just be constantly using these words on my blog, social content, website, etc., or is there anything else that I can do?
So you're wanting to be topical of recruitment agency leads. So let's have a look at that. $116 million results. Okay, so obviously with some hard work you'll get there. You need to have those words in one of your URLs. So whether that be, I don't know if that's the name of your company, I don't know whether or not that's a URL that would be available that you could direct to your website, but you certainly would need those words within a URL. So a page about recruitment agency leads, a blog about recruitment agency leads, Durham or Leeds. Oh, you mean Leeds as in Leeds, don't you?
Leads.
It wasn't until I said the word Leeds there, oh, that's the wrong Leeds. Recruitment agency leads. So you've got 9,970,000 results that have come up in 0.8 of a second. Okay, so I don't know whether or not you're appearing here at the moment. Make sure you are set up on that Google business account, okay, with your address. So there's potential that you could turn up in this section here. Get some Google reviews, okay, from your clients. So people that have been really happy with your service, get them to go on and leave some good reviews for you on Google. Then absolutely make sure that you've got the words recruitment agency leads. So you see what they've done here. They've used that as a heading. In here, they put that on as their focus keyword within here, but they've actually, there we go, recruitment agency leads. That's how they've got here. And then they've used subheading, Michael Page, recruitment in Leeds. Recruitment advice from Michael Page. So they're using recruitment, leads. Then the word leads is throughout this section here. So that is how that page is coming up on top of all the other free listings on Google. So that's the sort of thing you need to implement on your website. That's always the best thing to do, you know. Go and Google that main search term that you want to be found for. You'll see it in bold with your competitor's website there. Click on the link and go and see what it is they did to get to that spot.
Thank you.
Right. But you could then create blogs around recruitment agency lead staff. And you could write a really fun blog about the members of the team, or the recruitment agency leads team. And you could do like a meet the team page. So there's all other ways that you could be doing that to use that same focus keywords, but in fun ways, not all in dull ways. And do you know what? For the question that somebody asked me earlier on about the blog looking bad to humans, to human standards, when I write them just for optimization, I don't create hundreds of tweets around it directing people with backlinks to the website to read that bad blog. Okay, I might use it on my Google business post, but that's about the only place I'll use it. I'll use those focus keywords in my Google business listing. I'll use those focus keywords in other tweets going to my homepage, but I won't necessarily drive the traffic to that optimized blog. So think about that as well. I'm only really creating loads of traffic and backlinks around the ones that I really want people to read, or I think will be of value to people. Okay, Facebook training Whitley Bay, I don't think I created tweets around that one. Okay, it's just think about that.
Does punctuation act as a stop element within the KW?
Yeah. So don't use punctuation. You're just going to use up to 4, maybe 5. Again, Yoast will tell you, but it's around 4 normally. 4 words, no stop words, no punctuations.
Okay, thank you.
It gets confusing when you bring, I don't think hyphens create a stop, but that starts getting really confusing, because then if you're using a hyphen, that doesn't work in your slug, because you have like hyphen. So if you were doing self-employed advice, Reading, for example, and you put the hyphen between self-employed, your slug would be self-employed advice Reading. That's not going to work. So sometimes you've got to do a bit of a typo to get around that, and just put in self-employed as 2 separate words.
Lovely, thank you. If you had a YouTube channel, would it be a good idea to write a summary about it on your blog every time you published a video? And would it be better to embed the video in the post or add an outlink to YouTube?
Okay. My preference would be, yes, absolutely. Why not? Write that summary in your blog, but make it 300 words. Less than 300 words and it's not going to be worth you doing. All right. Now, whether or not you should embed your video in your blog or send the link to YouTube, my preference would always be to embed the video in the blog, but be careful it doesn't slow your website down too much. All right, so this will depend very much on how much space you've got on that website, and how well your server works and so on. The preference would be embed it, but keep checking the speed tests, keep speed testing your website to make sure that it's not hampering you.
Okay, lovely. And that's all the questions that we have. Misha did ask, what do you write about in your optimized blogs? But I think you answered that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's all.
Have your list of your wish list, right? You're going to create a wish list in order of priority of the things that you want to be found for on Google. Remember that bit about having the location in there. All right, the fact that that's always going to work best for you first. Can I just point out, so my company is Northeast Social Media. All my marketing is based around working with Northeast businesses on social media. But I still teach people all over the country. Through lockdown, I was training a company in California. It makes no difference to the work that comes in for me, but I still concentrate my marketing efforts in the Northeast, and the other areas naturally come in anyway. It doesn't put anybody off because I'm called Northeast Social Media. All right, it doesn't restrict me or stop me from working with other people, particularly now we're doing everything remotely. All right, but I wouldn't change my marketing efforts because of that. If I suddenly decided I wanted to market in a different area, then I would do that by using Facebook advertising, and I would click, choose small business owners, and I would use a case study of a company that I've recently worked with in Reading, something like that. All right, to get that point across. But to start with, think about local terms. We can branch out later on. Write down your wish list of order of importance of your focus keywords and just work your way through it. Commit to blogging however often you want to, but just remember to tell Google about it. All right, use those Google consoles. If you don't, it could be months and months, maybe years, before Google finds those words on your website. Whereas if you're telling Google it's there, you're bypassing all of that. It's an index link on Google. I talk about Google all the time. There are, of course, other search engines for which you can go through this same process.
Brilliant. That's all we have for questions. Please excuse that knocking. I've got
That's quite all right.
Side. Have you got any further slides that you need to go through or anything, Amanda, or was that you?
No, that was it. Just
got any questions that they want to ask before we go?
Please make sure you all link up with me on social media. You'll find me everywhere, which isn't a surprise really. But yeah, I use Facebook mainly for my engagement. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. I've got a company page on LinkedIn, and I use Twitter and Instagram as well very actively.
Yes, follow Amanda, but also please keep an eye on our websites, tag us in social media. Obviously, we want to engage with you and share any activities that you might have as followers. If you can take a minute at the end of this, we will send out emails with some surveys. If you could get us some feedback, that would be great, because we'll continue to put on these webinars. And obviously we want to know what you want to hear and see, so we'll kind of work with you on that. There is another webinar tomorrow if you're not registered for that. It's a guide to Microsoft SharePoint in OneDrive. And then we've got a new phase of webinars coming out in October, so please keep an eye out on the Digital Drive County Durham website and the DKE website. But if no one's got any further questions, I just want to thank Amanda again for that really useful session. We've got some lovely comments there in the chat box, just saying thanks very much, and thanks to everyone for joining us, and we'll hope to see you again very soon.
Lovely, you're welcome. See you all soon.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye now. Bye bye.